Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and today is Sunday, the 3rd of August in the year 2025, and I am here in twilight hour at Escazú, Costa Rica. And first, I want to talk about Venus. Okay, because I noticed a bunch of things about Venus in these last days, and I think it's important to discuss and reflect upon what's going on with Venus. So as you know, and as I spoke about last week, Venus entered the sign of Cancer Wednesday, the 30th of July at 11:57 p.m. Eastern Time, late in this region of the world, or in that region of the world, because it was almost midnight. It was almost 10 p.m. by me, so not so late here. But when Venus entered Cancer, she wasn't alone in the sign because, as we know, if you've been listening, you know that Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer. And so Venus then bumped up against Saturn and then Neptune on Friday, August 1st, 2 days later after entering the sign of Cancer, or not even a full 48 hours, because she really got there like midnight-ish Thursday morning and then got to the Saturn square at 9:34 a.m. on Friday the 1st. And then Neptune, 4:49 p.m. later in the day, Eastern Time. So she squared Saturn, then she squared Neptune. So what do we think is going on here? First of all, Venus is approaching Jupiter. They're not together yet. They are in the same sign. They will meet in about a week or so, a little over a week. So we'll be talking about that on next week's podcast. But what we're talking about now, as the gecko speaks in the background, what we're talking about now is Venus's approach to Jupiter, but their presence in this place. Now, Jupiter is big. Jupiter's energy is big. And when another planet comes into the same sign as Jupiter, it's compounded by Jupiter's energy, even if Jupiter is not touching that planet just yet, even if Venus is approaching Jupiter but not getting there quite yet. So what I believe is going on here, and what I have been feeling into, and that's my job, to feel into all of this and then report back to you from my findings in the field, is that Venus does this every year. Venus goes into Cancer every year. Every now and again, every 8 years or so, maybe she goes retrograde in Cancer. I don't remember the last time she went retrograde in Cancer. Probably not for a long time. But the thing is with Venus, she's all about the love, the beauty, the desire, what you're feeling. And Jupiter is there in Cancer, exalted and enhancing all of this. Now, this is very interesting because I felt this very strongly. Venus sort of impacted Jupiter in a way that made it more obvious, the energy, made all this energy more obvious. So what do we know about the sign of Cancer? Well, it's nostalgic. And it is nostalgic, and it longs for security. It is almost a little bit longing for childhood. Some people might say if you have the South Node in Cancer, you might be longing for that familial childhood security feeling. Maybe you never really had it, and that's why you're looking for it. But this experience of Venus and Jupiter in Cancer are bringing up nostalgia. And they are bringing up a sense of desire to connect with people we consider family or who are family, and bringing up a lot of energy around how we feel about family. And with Jupiter there, we might be remembering the good times. That doesn't mean there wasn't darkness. That just means that right now we're getting to focus on what was good. And isn't that nice for a change? You know, my late partner, John Cook, used to say, why don't we get more better planets? Like more planets that are better, that are positive and giving us good energy instead of just Venus and Jupiter. Like, well, there's the sun, of course. And I think Mercury is kind of neutral. And people have called Mars a malefic, but I think it's kind of neutral. It can be malefic, but so could Venus. Venus can be greedy, maybe, and with Jupiter, maybe really greedy. But let's get back to the topic. They are giving us some good vibes about family. So maybe you're having a good conversation with your mother, or maybe your network, your little family that you have created with your partner, spouse, and children are like having a good time watching movies together, going on vacation, doing something fun, family fun. It's summer in certain regions of the world. If you're in Australia, it's not summer, but maybe you're snowboarding with your kids, these kinds of things are what we start to experience with Venus and Jupiter, and we look for and long for nostalgia. We look for and long for the security and the fun and the happy times. And that's a good thing. And what I then witnessed with Saturn and Neptune was not just taking nostalgia to the next level, which was wistfulness. So there's something wistful when Venus squared Saturn and then squared Neptune. There's a deeper longing for home, for familiarity, for security, for those happy times. And you're not wrong if you felt this. And maybe you even felt a little ouch around this. Venus Saturn is often an ouch. As noble-minded as we may be, as even the people who know astrology, as well as you may know astrology, as well as I know astrology, I don't get to escape from the ouch either. So there's a moment in all of this. With Venus and Saturn, there's a moment when we may touch on something that is a little ouchy. And, Neptune also, Neptune is different. Neptune would be like, where did all the good times go? Where's all the good times? Why don't we have that? I feel like they got lost to time. We're mystified. We're mystified by time and the absence of time. Like Saturn keeps time, but Neptune's like, there is no such thing as time, and it feels like it was a minute ago. So I had a conversation with my sister on text on Friday after all these aspects had happened. And we were in a place of reminiscence. And we were talking about certain things, and she couldn't believe things that I remembered, like music she listened to. And she was talking about one of her favorite jazz musicians passed away, Chuck Mangione, and how she used to listen to those records. Way before he had a hit single, but way before that, she used to listen to that when I was really little as a kid. And I remember all of that. And she couldn't believe that I remembered her playing all those records. She says, you knew that from me? And I said, yes, I knew that from you. Of course I did. And so there was that connection. And she said those were happy times. And she was right. Those were happy. That was a nice spot of time in the mid-'70s when she would come home from work and play those records, and we enjoyed them. And I was a kid, and she couldn't believe I remembered this. And I have a really good memory, and I pointed out certain things, and then I had seen a singer that he used to perform with in a jazz club when I was in college. And stuff. Wow, you saw her those many years ago. I said, yes, I did. And I said, now I'm old. And she said, nah, you're not that old. Well, when she told me Chuck Mangione passed away, it turns out he passed away the same day my mother had died. It was July 22nd. So that right there was Venus Saturn. There was the ouch. It's like back in those days, my mother was there. She enjoyed that music. And it was jazzy, and it was palatable and for my mother. And, this is something that we're going to feel during a Venus Saturn. And then Neptune comes and says, where did all that time go? That was how many years ago? Well, 1975, that was, 50 years ago. Wow, hey, that was a lifetime ago. And there was the double ouch of, when someone that you associate with childhood passes, a soundtrack you had, and that soundtrack is no more, you're like, wow, those days are really over. They were really over. But now when you feel Venus, Saturn, you feel the impact of they were really over. Oh, and by the way, this happened the same day of my mother's anniversary of her passing. So this was an interesting dynamic I had with my sister. And I thought there was I felt definite wistfulness in this, and definite closeness with her, and there was the familial bond. There you go. So there's the Venus, Jupiter, and the square to Saturn, and then the where the hell did time go? Neptune, and the things lost to time, and the things lost to memories. And I feel like Neptune can be memories, our memories, and Cancerian energy is definitely memories. So that's what those aspects did. And if you felt those things, then you were absolutely correct. You were absolutely right on target. Now, if you didn't feel those things, it doesn't mean you're not on target. Maybe you were able to transcend all of this business on Friday and you didn't have a reaction like that. But somewhere something touched you, I'm sure. And we all got touched by those things, from Venus, Saturn to Venus, Neptune. And, we're going to experience a whole bunch of this as we go through these next months and year with Venus connecting with those two planets as they are together. So she'll go into Libra later this year and she'll oppose them. So there'll be more of this kind of stuff. And it won't be as potent as when Venus is in Cancer. It'll be something else. It might be about partnerships and relationships. But that experience of Venus and Jupiter together, which they should bring us something joyous coming up next week, because Venus will be past all this Saturn Neptune business, and then we're going into happier energy. So you can have more nostalgic things without so many Saturnine ouchies. Okay? Then we're going to talk about Leo. Because we had the Sun-Mercury conjunction in Leo on Thursday the 31st, and that was a whopper. I had to unravel all sorts of Mercury retrograde stories. It was not fun. I managed to handle them. What a pain in the neck. But there is this matter of this Lionsgate, okay? Now, I want to just say, whenever these things come up, particularly on social media, it's 444, it's 7/7, it's July 7th, it's going to be August 8th, it's the Lionsgate portal because it's in the sign of Leo. And then, okay, I understand this whole Sirius aligning with the sun and Orion's belt, and astrologically, astronomically, I get it. These were never in my astrology classes. We didn't discuss this stuff, and I didn't pay any mind to any of this on social media with, it's 11/11, November 11th, it's a big deal. Every time there's a year relative to this, when it was February 2nd, 2022, and the numbers lining up. So I asked my neighbor a few months ago, the numerologist, and I said to her, what do you think of all of this? Why was this never talked about and now it's talked about? And she said, because the energy of the earth is changing, because the energy is getting more intense, and it's, and there's all this ascension and stuff too. But she said the energy's changed. It's more profound. We didn't notice these things before, but there are these energetic portals. And so for her, she said, no, you're right. Nobody ever talked about this 20 years ago. And I agree. And we were chatting about that. And she said, this is, it is real. These things are real. These numerical sequences do produce a certain frequency, and you're going to start noticing that more and more. Well, I probably talked about this. I think I remember talking about this last year on this podcast and saying, I don't know about this. I don't buy into it. So this one mentor I work with, Melanie Ann Layer, she decided to turn her one-day Lionsgate portal event that she had last year into a 16-day masterclass. And it's all about manifestation and setting intention and how empowering this is and how powerful it is. And I was like, wow, really? 16 days? Wow, that's intense. And then what occurred for me was something unprecedented. And so I'm starting to believe that, yes, Kendra's right. These energetic portals are existing and they are opening, and we have to use the energy. It's frequency. And I totally believe in frequency as a former chemist and as an astrologer. And I completely go along with the frequency thing. Okay. I've studied enough physics in my life. Yes, it's absolutely the case. So I would say, yes, go ahead and make your Lionsgate manifestations apparent for yourself. Set your intentions and work with this energy. What came up for me, and I think this was the universe speaking to me. The only thing I can think of is the universe saying to me, by the way, we're not kidding here, girl. And I was like, okay, I'll shut up now. Monday, my friend Claudia and I were talking, and she said to me, I really want a companion cat for my cat, Tiger Lily. And I said, oh, that's sweet. She's like, I'm going to get her a kitten. That was Monday morning. Monday evening, she texts me and she says, I have 6 baby kittens in my house. And I said, what? What did she says, talk about manifestation. I said, you got to be careful. Talk about setting intention for cats. So 6 cats showed up in her house and she's fostering 6 kittens. I'm not going to get into the whole story. Let's just say she's fostering 6 kittens. And Tiger Lily's like, what is going on? This was my domain. So, okay, so that was number 1. Then my friend here, Veronica, who has 2 dogs, she was saying to me, I think I'm going to adopt this black cat. And I said, okay, well, she said, would you go with me to see the cat? And I said, sure, it was a kitten. It's a kitten. I found this post on Facebook back in June of a cat who had kittens, and this woman rescued it. Well, the woman and I had texted, and I said, I think my friend wants a black cat, and that was Veronica. And it turns out that she has a foster situation, or an actual shelter situation, I should say. She was fostering these kittens, but she rescued the mother, is going to get the mother neutered now that she's like winding down nursing the kittens. And my friend wanted to see one. They're all black kittens, so my friend wanted to see them. So we went over there, and we see this woman, and we walk into her house, and there's 11 cats. 11 cats. And there's the 3 kittens, and then there's these 2 tuxedo twins, much like the tuxedo twins we have here. And she's like, why don't you adopt the twins? I said, because we have 8 cats where I live. I have 1 cat that does not want other cats. And then there were all these other cats that had a story. And then there's one big floofy one that was like Maine Coon. She said that was the first rescue I ever did. And then she proceeds to tell us that she has a shelter. This is only her house where she's like working with these cats and she's adopting them out and everything. She's got a shelter 850 meters away with 150 cats. And she said, you have to come see the shelter. You've got to meet the cats. And we're like, yeah, we do. And how come you must have people helping you out and volunteering? And, she said, oh, no one wants to volunteer. And we're like, you're kidding me. No one wants to volunteer. And we're like, well, and Veronica and I were saying later, maybe we should go help her out a couple of times and stuff. It's heartbreaking. And some of the stories she told us about the way people treat cats is heartbreaking. And I'm going to say this public service announcement from the Golden Astrologer Podcast. Get your cat neutered. Get your cat spayed. Get your cat neutered. It's not fair. They're miserable with the hormones, and there's an overpopulation of cats, and this is why this very lovely woman, and I gave her a donation, and Veronica gave her a donation, just in addition to what the adoption fee was going to be for the cat, but we gave her donations just to support her because no one's helping her, and this is a legitimate nonprofit she's got going on. And it's CatCon weekend, and all I'm seeing on Instagram is cats. So this is a phenomenal thing, but public service announcement, get your cat neutered. And then I'm outside the other night watching the sunset, and this Bengal cat, which is an expensive purebred cat, was walking up and down my street crying, and I knew this cat from around the corner. Well, it turns out that his family had moved across the street from me, and he was like trying to get back to the other place, and he's not familiar with the new place yet. And I rang their doorbell, and I had a very nice conversation with the owner, and he's like, no, he's fine. He eats 3 times a day, so he's fine. He's just talkative, and he likes to be out and about and walking around. So see, he just ate dinner, and now he's outside. He wants to run around. So I cannot tell you how many cat conversations and cat experiences I had this week. And I said, okay, the universe is telling me, you better believe in these portals, girlfriend. So I give it up to the universe. The universe is saying, there is a portal going on. So I'm here to tell you, focus on your manifestations. Focus on what you intend to do, what you really want. And you are powerful. You are capable. You are creative. Do it. Whatever you really want, sit down with yourself. And the peak, I guess, is Friday the 8th, which was my mother's birthday. And there's my mother again. So, and I think it ends on the 16th or something. So it started from July 28th to the 16th of August, I think, something, or the 12th, I think. But right now, this is the time to set your intentions and your manifestations in order. So, yeah. And, my mother was born August 8th, and I can't say that she was a big manifester and, like, a powerhouse of energy. She was a Sun Neptune conjunction in Leo. So she was not someone with, like you would say, she's like all sorts of vibrant fire. Even though she was Aries rising, she wasn't like that. Her nickname was Kitten. Okay? My mother's probably speaking to me right now. So there you go. Her nickname was Kitten. So and that's all I'm going to say about cats and the Lion's Gate. Mars is entering a new sign this week. It's entering Libra, and that would be on Wednesday, the 6th. It's at 7:23 p.m. Eastern Time, and I was thinking about this because Mars is going to then do the same thing that Venus just did, which is get entangled with Saturn and Neptune. And here we are again between Friday and Saturday, a week later, that these guys are going to get entangled. And Mars getting entangled with them is much more serious than Venus. Okay, so this is not about nostalgia. This is about relationships. This is Mars in Libra. Mars does not like being in Libra. It's going to point a finger at Saturn and Neptune, which are in his sign of Aries. And he's going to be like, you know what? I'm the boss around here. So there is going to be some riffraff and kerfuffles around Mars, the warrior planet, and Saturn, the one says, you can't go to war. Sorry, you're not going to war. Or don't you point your finger at me, buddy. And Neptune, Mars and Neptune are sneaky. There's a trickster energy in all of this. So I would be very aware of, your assertions this week, how you're asserting yourself, your confidence, your courage energy. I would be really, really particularly sensitive and aware of yourself. Okay, I would take this seriously. Mars is no joke when it's pointing a finger at Saturn and Neptune. And here's why. Mars in Libra. Mars is, the one that's courageous, like I said, the warrior planet. But Libra is not. Libra is the sign of peace. Libra belongs with Venus. And so we've got Mars in a debilitated place. And Mars debilitated is not a good thing. Mars debilitated is not a good. And as we experienced earlier this year when it was retrograde in Cancer, and now it's going, and that was not a good place for Mars, and now it's going into another not great place for itself. The thing with Mars and Libra is, it's not my fault, it's yours. That's what Mars and Libra says. It's not my fault, it's yours. And you did this and you did that and da-da-da-da-da. No, Mars doesn't take ownership in Libra. In Aries, it can be like, all right, I'm a fiery mess and I'm storming in here, and there it goes, and that's okay. But in Libra, it's trying to have some sort of balance and harmony, and it does not own its anger, power, etc. in Libra. And it may do things, not speak up to keep the peace, which is never good. Okay, you've got to find a polite way, Mars, to express your needs and express your truth. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. When Mars gets entangled with Saturn, it's often silenced or stopped from expressing its truth. Even if Saturn's not in its own, Saturn belongs in Libra. Saturn's exalted in Libra. Mars rules Aries. They are in each other's place. So the opposition is going to be very interesting. And I urge you to pay close attention to your dynamics with others. And just because it's an opposition, and just because it's the opposition, it's the solitary, the Aries versus Libra, the partnership. So it's I and you. And so this is something that we really need to walk and tread with care. Okay? Walk with care, tread with care. Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward. Speak your truth, but speak it in a very nice, polite way and make your needs known. There's a way to do that. And Neptune is tricky, so you might consider being manipulative, and that's probably not good either. So if you need to come in the back door to speak your truth and do it politely and with great awareness, that's fine. So that's the way to handle this. If you need to come in the back door, you can come in the back door. Sometimes that's the way Mars has to assert itself. But don't be manipulative at Mars, and be careful with your wallet. Mars, Neptune, be careful that you're not stolen from, or you're not being manipulated into giving something away that you don't want. This is a real test of character and a real test of working with this energy in an aware way, and a way that is good for everyone, that we all win, and that everybody's happy at the end of the day. That's what Libra's about: balance, harmony, serenity. But it doesn't mean sacrificing yourself, Neptune, to keep the peace so someone doesn't get offended by you stating your truth. There's very polite ways to state your truth and to speak up and speak in favor of yourself, okay? And stand up for yourself. So if you need to be courageous and stand up for yourself, do it with great awareness. This is what we need to use this energy for this coming week. I do recommend stopping and thinking, Libra's an air sign, stopping and thinking about what you want to say, and don't boil over, okay? Don't boil over. And you just need to be aware of that. Now, Mars is also going to trine Uranus at 2:45 p.m. on Friday, which is lots of energy. And so that's a little bit tricky with Saturn. The reason I say it's tricky is because Mars-Uranus trine, it's not an opposition. It's not a square, but it's a nice flowing trine. So you don't think you're doing anything wrong when you go, oh my God, you wouldn't believe, da-da-da, I have to tell you this, and hey, why don't you talk to me? Where are you going? What? Anything like that, which is a very Mars-Uranus trine, any of that excitable energy that oversteps a line might get slapped back by Saturn. So again, mind your energy. If you got a lot of energy, go out for a run, go to the gym, go swimming, go do something hit the tennis ball, go do something that's going to really help you burn off that Mars-Uranus. And it's great for sitting down and getting creative and being brilliant, okay? You don't want someone to tell you that you're too much and I can't handle you and step back, because the Saturn is opposite Mars. And, even though it's trining Uranus, it's still opposing Saturn. So then there's a nice trine Mars to Pluto on Sunday the 10th, the next time we're on this podcast. And this Mars-Pluto is going to be after all of these aspects happen. And it's going to be another smooth aspect, but it's after any of that. If you haven't owned your power during that, you'll own your power then on the 10th, because Mars trine Pluto is like, I'm taking my power back, excuse me, and you can't say that to me, you can't talk to me like that, I have a right to be angry, etc., etc. That's that kind of energy. It's like, I'm taking my power back here. Okay, so hopefully we can have some peace and quiet during this, but watch your energy, mind your energy, because if you get excitable, and sometimes you're excited about something and you want to share it, and it's the wrong time for the other person, just remember there's Mars Saturn. So just be polite, Libra, and just be aware. Just stay aware of all of this and you'll get through it. And other things could come up too, even if you handle everybody with great care and politeness and sensitivity, you might have your own inner turmoil that you're navigating through. So just remember that this is going on and that the power to own it and work through it is yours. And Mars does bring us back to our power as well as Pluto. So Mars, I like the Mars-Pluto trine after all of this is done, because then it's going to really bring us to a place of owning our power and understanding it and using it for the best of everyone concerned. And there is a full moon on Saturday the 9th. At the same time, we're having the Mars-Neptune opposition. So Mars-Neptune is going to happen at 6:13 p.m. Eastern Time, but the full moon is going to be in the middle of the night at 3:55 a.m. So between the Mars-Saturn at 10:52 p.m. on Friday night and the Mars-Neptune at 6:13 p.m. on Saturday evening, there is going to be a full moon. So this is enhancing the energy. We all know that full moons bring a lot of energy. And so again, I say this is about relationships, you and I, and you and the person across the table from you. And so be very aware of this, okay? Full moon energy can be crazy. So the full moon is in Aquarius at 17 degrees. So this is a moon about our freedom, our independence, our liberation, our, again, autonomy. And so, Mars is going to be wanting to assert itself because I want my liberty and I want my revolution and whatever. And just be aware of it. This is the full moon in the Lion's Gate portal. So do a ritual for this. Maybe you want to close the Lion's Gate portal. You've done your manifestations and intentions. Do a very strong, full moon clearing for this. And it'll be good. You're clearing out all this energy that we've had with Mars and Saturn and Mars and Neptune and everything. It'll be nice to do some nice full moon ritual. It's also affecting anyone with a planet at 2 degrees cardinal. That would be Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra, and Aries. So there you go. There's the energy, 2 degrees of cardinal. Well, what do we have at 2 degrees of cardinal in those moments? We have Saturn and Neptune. We have Mars. Could it get any more complicated? So here we are talking about this Mars dynamic with these other 2 planets that are hanging out together for the first time in 30 years. And what do we get? We get a full moon triggering the whole blasted thing. So this is no joke. So all of this is all playing into each other, okay? And what we're looking at is a weekend full of dynamics that are going to be on fire. And I really, really encourage you to tread lightly, tread politely, work with the energy. This could be a great breakthrough. It could be a great breakthrough. And it could really give you some insights into your relationships, into your dynamics, into, maybe old energies that you want to clear out from the past, old traumas, old stuff that lingers in the field. You're allowed to get angry in the field when you're in the room by yourself and you have old traumas, you're able to speak them into the field and release them. They've got to move through your body. Okay. So if you feel things, and Mars is very physical, if you feel things wanting to move through your body, go let them out. Again, go run, go hit the tennis ball, go swim, go to the gym. Let this move through your body. And if it needs to move through your body through something like breath work, that's also going to be very helpful. So find some breath work practitioner or go online and, maybe find a video and do a little breath work or something. Or if you know how to do breath work, it's just breathing through this and letting it move through your body and feeling it. Feeling it is really important. So yes, so we've got some interesting dynamics. I'm looking forward to the Mars-Pluto trine on Sunday. But we've all got to pass through this cycle of very deep, profound changes and movements. So, okay, the full moon is going to trigger this whole thing. I thank you for listening. If you need help with any of this, certainly contact me. Certainly work with me either through astrology, where we look at your chart and we talk about what these represent to you and what they're triggering for you. And then also with Reiki, I can do a big clearing for you on energies that are really bothering you or plaguing you. I can do a really nice clearing. Reiki's really helpful for clearing out old energies, breaking old contracts, cord cutting. We do all of that with this Reiki. It isn't just some I'm not touching you because I'm doing it online, unless you want to come see me in Costa Rica, but it's really extraordinarily clarifying and clearing. And I use it on myself all the time. So it's great. And then there's also my expansion mentoring, and where we go deeper into your life and what you want to achieve and what you want to work with and how you want to move forward in your life. And, I have plenty of tools for, working with you and NLP tools, and that will help you go to the next level of your life. And that's what we really want. We really want to expand into something greater than what we are. So I welcome you for that. That's 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. In the meantime, I'll be on Instagram, the Golden Astrologer. And if you want to contact me for any reason or want to book a session, it's thegoldenastrologer.com. To book a session, it's book online. And to connect with me directly, you can email me, info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com. I thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful week. Watch that Mars and take care. And gratitude to one and all. Much love to everyone. Blessings for a beautiful week.